Here we are with sunshine outside and you bring the sun inside. It is so, so good to see all your faces on this Halloween morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church in Providence, where we love beyond belief. This is the beautiful day that we have been given. May we make the very most of it, starting right now, together. I'm so tempted to run to that open window and be like, choir, you're on. I think Pam's doing that. A little raucousness is kind of nice to help, add to the coffee in the morning, the kind of, let's go. Does that work? We need like a big thumbs up on a long stick that I can just be like to our pool choir. There we go.
Welcome. Please join us in reading the words written in your program for the lighting of the chalice. This light burns also in our hearts, and it lights our path toward harmony, justice, and hope for all.
Our opening words, our invocation this morning, are from the writings of Naima Penniman, a contemporary American artist, Being Human. I wonder if the sun debates dawn some mornings, not wanting to rise out of bed from under the down feather horizon. If the sky grows tired of being everywhere at once, adapting to the mood, the swings of the weather. If clouds drift off, trying to hold themselves together, make deals with gravity to loiter a little longer. I wonder if rain is scared of falling, if it has trouble letting go, if snowflakes get sick of being perfect all the time, each one trying to be one of a kind. I wonder if stars wish upon themselves before they die, if they need to teach their young how to shine. I wonder if shadows long to just for once feel the sun, if they get lost in the shuffle, not knowing where they're from. I wonder if sunrise and sunset respect each other, even though they've never met. If volcanoes get stressed, if storms have regrets, if compost believes in life after death. I wonder if breath ever thinks of suicide, if the wind just wants to sit still sometimes and watch the world pass by, if smoke was born knowing how to rise, if rainbows get shy backstage, not sure if their colors match right. I wonder if lightning sets an alarm clock to know when to crack, if rivers ever stop and think of turning back. I wonder if streams meet the wrong sea and their whole lives run off track. I wonder if the snow wants to be black, if the soil thinks she's too dark, if butterflies want to cover up their marks, if rocks are self-conscious of their weight, if mountains are insecure of their strength. I wonder if waves get discouraged, crawling up the sand only to be pulled back again to where they began. If land feels stepped upon, if sand feels insignificant, if trees need to question their lovers to know where they stand, if branches waver at the crossroads, unsure of which way to grow, if the leaves understand they're replaceable and still dance when the wind blows. I wonder where the moon goes when she is in hiding. I want to find her there and watch the ocean spin from a distance, listen to her stir in her sleep. Effort give way to existence. This is our time to greet each other, to say hello, to wave, to blow kisses to people near you or across our space, to long-beloved faces and folks you haven't met or seen before. So I want to invite you to stand up in your pews and not run around to kiss and hug each other as we used to, but turn around and wave and say hi to everybody that you see. And really look at each other, even with the masks, really look and see who you see. And now let's also all turn to the camera right there that Michael Capelli is pointing to. There they are, because those are all our beloveds at home. Hi, everybody, wave, please. Hello. We miss you. And we're thinking of you there at home. And we hope you're waving back at us. And take one more moment to see each other and relish each other. And then let's come back.
Today's reading is The Afterlife by Billy Collins. While you are preparing for sleep, brushing your teeth or riffling through a magazine in bed. The dead of the day are setting out on their journey. They're moving off in all imaginable directions, each according to his own private belief. And this is the secret that silent Lazarus would not reveal, that everyone is right, as it turns out. You go to the place you always thought you would go, the place you kept lit in an alcove in your heart. Some are being shot into a funnel of flashing colors, into a zone of light white as a January sun. Others are standing naked before a forbidding judge who sits with a golden ladder on one side, a coal chute on the other. Some have already joined the celestial choir and are singing as if they have been doing this forever, while the less inventive find themselves stuck in a big, air-conditioned room full of food and chorus girls. Some are approaching the apartment of the female god, a woman in her 40s with short, wiry hair and glasses hanging from her neck by a string. With one eye, she regards the dead through a hole in her door. There are those who are squeezing into the bodies of animals, eagles and leopards, and one trying on the skin of a monkey like a tight suit, ready to begin another life in a more simple key, while others float off into some benign vagueness like little units of energy heading for the ultimate elsewhere. There are even a few classicists being led to the underworld by a mythological creature with a beard and hooves. He will bring them to the mouth of the furious cave guarded over by Edith Hamilton and her three-headed dog. The rest just lie on their backs in their coffins, wishing they could return so they could learn Italian, or see the pyramids, or play some golf in a light rain. They wish they could wake in the morning like you and stand at a window examining the winter trees, every branch traced with the ghost writing of snow. And some just smile forever on.
Good morning, friends. One of the ways First You transforms love into action is by the sharing of the joys and sorrows that connect us in beloved community. 2 candles of health and wellness are lit for my friends, one in Wilmington, Delaware, and the other in Denver, Colorado, who have been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Give them strength to beat this cancer. A 3rd candle of sorrow is lit for my brother-in-law, Fran, who is slowly declining from congestive heart failure. Allow him to be comfortable in this, his December of life. A candle of gratitude for my beloved cat baby. May she rest in peace on the top of Rainbow Hill. And from our Book of Joys and Sorrows, a candle of great love for Sarah and Don Slate from their extended family of 60 years formed by this church. They were our center, beloved and respected by so many people in this community. They were together always in life and now in death. A candle in loving memory of my stepdaughter, Joanne Hamilton, who passed away on Tuesday. A candle of sorrow for my daughter, Jane, who lost her baby girl this week through a miscarriage at just 18 weeks. A candle of deep and profound sorrow for our friend and fellow First U member, Kim, for the tragic loss of her oldest son this weekend. And that candle of great sorrow is for the death of one of our youth, Waylon Ziegelmeyer. He is greatly loved and will be sorely missed. My friends, in times of joy and in times of sorrow, let us rest in the deep knowing that we have one another to bring our joys and sorrows. I'm going to offer a short meditation, and after these words, there will be a time of shared silence. If you've lost someone close to you in the past year, we want to invite you and those of you at home to stand or to raise your hand or in some way join us in silent witness of your loss. To begin, I want us to prepare for meditation by letting our bodies relax, by feeling ourselves sitting where we're sitting, by quieting our minds and our fidgeting, letting our shoulders drop, maybe bringing our eyes to soft gaze, feeling our feet, let us take a long and sustaining deep breath in. And release. And again, breathe. and just one more. These words are from Reverend Esai Barnwell of Sweet Honey in the Rock. This is her setting of Birago Diop's breaths. Listen more often to things than to beings, and breathe. Listen more often to things than to beings, and breathe. 'Tis the ancestor's breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestor's breath in the voice of the waters. Listen more often to things than to beings, and breathe. Those who have died have never left. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. They are in life's breath. Listen more often to things than beings, and breathe. Amen.
It used to be that we did a lot of standing and sitting in worship because we had 3 hymns, and plus we were singing, which takes a certain amount of energy and offers a channeling of energy. And now, of course, until we are all singing again, we're doing a lot more sitting and a lot less standing, which I am hearing is a little hard on folks. So I just I think we need like a 7th inning stretch, you know? And I think that would be now. So could we just stand again? I'm not going to ask you to do any particular stretch, but do whatever you would like to do. Go ahead and stretch, turn around. Anybody who feels like doing a little dance, you could do that. But mostly I think just, let's move together and take a moment and then recenter back into our sacred space, our attending to each other and to our themes. And now to this sermon. Please be seated as you're ready. I really did think about asking you to do particular things, but I don't always like what I'm asked to do when I'm asked to do that kind of stuff, and then it just puts me in a bad mood, and I thought right before the sermon, maybe not. So, you know what your body wants to do when you stand. This is kind of, I was thinking about this. We've had all these debates about opening the windows, shutting the windows because of the sounds of life that happen all around us. And I'm just completely reconciled to it. Life is happening all around us and it makes noise. And we're just keeping going and we're keeping everything open to keep ourselves safe. So as stuff happens, let's just remember that. Life is happening all around us. Oprah has shared that one of the reflections she turns to when despairing under the weight of so much that our nation and world are struggling with is the atmospheric reality that past even the most foreboding sky of dark and scudding storm clouds, far above, the sun is still there. And it is still shining, just as present. It is obscured, not vanished. And she loves encountering that reality when she's on a plane on a gloomy day, rising through the gray clouds until finally the plane bursts through to the brilliant sky above, and she is bathed in that light that is always shining, even in the darkness, just like that line from the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. I also love that encounter, especially when it comes with a really fantastic cloudscape. We look out the window to see not the landscape below, with all its mountains and valleys and cities and rivers, but instead this cloudscape that is filled with its own mountains and valleys and broad bowls and cliffs and domes of cloud, filled with air cut by rivers of blue sky. And often those clouds, when you're way up at the top, are so downy white and substantial. It seems like we really should just be able to gently sink down onto them and be held by them and rest a while. Every time I see that majestic beauty, I think of the old classic vision of heaven, right? Clouds and white robes and, say again? Harps. Thank you. Not my favorite instrument. Not what I would choose to play forever. But I also think, always, what a thing, though. What a thing to be there with friends and family and heroes and inspirations, talking and singing and, yes, flying, swooping down into those great glens of clear air within those great mountains of cloud, inhabiting that astonishing and always changing world of the sky. Those ancients who, of course, never saw that vision looking down from above, even only from below. They were onto something. And of course, that belief responds to the two great curses of humanity, which are suffering and death. Across the world and all time, since at least the dawn of human consciousness, humanity has perceived them both and struggled to understand them. Every faith includes its own response to those curses. Many of them include the hope or expectation that one of them, death itself, is in fact a blessing. That it is not an ending, but a transmutation that could bring with it an end to the other curse of suffering as well. The tunnel of light, the forbidding judge with the ladder and the coal chute, the celestial choir, the Vegas option with air conditioning and chorus girls. Reincarnation as a creature who knows less and therefore suffers less. Or maybe knows more and still suffers less. The descent, or maybe ascent into ions, the journey to Hades, may be worst, even after death, with no more days left, that we should have, as in life, the yearning for simply more days. Maybe best, the simply smiling, to be content after all the struggle. Almost countless the ways that some look simply to the end of existence as its own desirable release and fulfillment, while others hope for something more, some possibility of existence and selfhood without suffering or death, effort giving way to existence, as our invocation artist Naima Penniman put it. Effort giving way to existence. It's only when we get into the details of what the afterlife looks like that we bump into what seem, from all that we know on this mortal plane, like inevitable flaws. Not least because of our seemingly infinite and inherent human capacity for boredom, even with bliss. What is your own expectation? Your own hope? Bearing in mind that the two, what we hope and what we expect, may not remotely resemble each other. Even endless time with those we love, and our heroes, and our inspirations, even flying and talking and singing and cloud soaring and all the rest, would conceivably get boring. After millennia, maybe it would inevitably get boring. We would long for a hike, or a swim, or wood to chop, or a book, or sex, or sleep, or just anything corporeal, maybe even struggle. Existence hearkening back to effort, which would seem particularly ironic right now when everything is so darn difficult. But if everything was instead stupefyingly easy, if all we had to do to have something was want it, maybe we would wish for things not to come so easily, so readily, every instant. Because it does seem that it is in our nature to get bored if we have enough exposure even to the most extraordinary experiences, even if surely it would take at least a while. But all this eternal wondering is not about hypotheticals. It's about us. It is about those we have adored and lost. It is about desolation and heartbreak and everything that is not pretty or merely interesting to speculate about. This is about what is most real longing and love. And while it is also about our own struggles with our own mortality, for much of our lives, the questions, the dread, the desolation are also and more about the people we have loved and lost, the irreplaceable, the precious, the sacred, whose absence from the world we feel so intensely that we would give anything, everything, to have them back. Our friends, our relatives, our parents, our spouses, our children, those miracles of spirit and cells, they meant the world to us. They were our world. To be in their presence, to hear their voice, to feel their touch, to receive their wisdom, to share their laughter, even all the things that drove us crazy. We would take it. We would take it all in a heartbeat. Oh, the irony, a heartbeat. We would grab it. We would grab them and never let them go, because without them, everything is diminished. We are right there with William Wordsworth, that eulogist of humanity and nature and transcendence, in his poem, Intimations on Immortality. I first heard this poem, a part of this poem, when I was a teenager, watching the soap opera, One Life to Live. And this character, Cruz, read this on the death of his long-beloved love, Eden. And I thought, that is incredible writing for this soap opera. And then years ago, I found it, reading Wordsworth, and I remembered it. There was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth, and every common sight to me did seem apparelled in celestial light, the glory and the freshness of a dream. It is not now as it hath been of yore. Turn wheresoe'er I may, by night or day, the things which I have seen, I now can see no more. The rainbow comes and goes, and lovely is the rose. The moon doth with delight look round her when the heavens are bare. Waters on a starry night are beautiful and fair. The sunshine is a glorious birth. But yet I know, where'er I go, that there hath passed a glory from this earth. All this is why we keep All Souls every year, because we have had to let them go. And though we are alive and we are going on and we are all right, we are also not all right. And we will never be all right, because death and suffering are not all right, even though they are part of life, which we know. And the greatest struggle of our living is this, that longing and love can never be enough. The wishing that the whole nature of things was different in ways that we cannot ultimately conceive of. Because along with the love and longing, we know that perfection is boring, that it is imperfection that makes things compelling, that life and time are precious because we lose them. Some of us this morning will offer names of those we have lost very recently. Others will offer the same names they offer every year. Some of us silently anticipate names we will have to share soon, and some won't even set foot on that path of dread. Some of us wonder if when our own names will be shared in this space. so charged with the breaths and steps and sitting and standing and singing and praying and loving and weeping and living that has hallowed this old exalted space with its own bowls and cliffs and domes, valley and rivers. In his 2009 book, Some, 40 SUM, 40 Tales from the Afterlives, David Eagleman writes 40 brief expositions about an astonishing range of afterlife options. In Metamorphosis, he writes, there are 3 deaths. The first is when the body ceases to function. The second is when the body is consigned to the grave. The third is that moment sometime in the future when your name is spoken for the last time. He explains, you wait in this lobby until the third death. There are long tables with coffee, tea, and cookies. You can help yourself. There are people here from all around the world, and with a little effort, you can strike up a convivial small talk. Just be aware that your conversation may be interrupted at any moment by the callers who broadcast your new friend's name to indicate there will never be another remembrance of him by anyone on earth. Your friend slumps, face like a shattered and re-glued plate, saddened even though the callers tell him kindly he is off now to a better place. No one knows where that better place is or what it offers, because no one exiting through the door has returned to tell us. Tragically, many people leave just as their loved ones arrive, since the loved ones were the only ones doing the remembering. We all wag our heads at that typical timing. End quote. The idea of years, likely decades of after living in what sounds like a worldwide version of our traditional church coffee hour does not really strike me as appealing, no matter how good the cookies are. What resonates is the idea that our living isn't really over until we cease to be remembered, until our names are never spoken again. Although the author is at pains to point out that can work out worse than expected. Some people never get to leave the coffee hour because their names keep getting spoken. Not only the famous or the infamous, but also the unlucky, a farmer whose land was used for a small college after his drowning death, whose stories were told every week by young tour guides taking families on campus tours. He will be in that coffee hour forever. And that, as David Eagleman points out, is the curse of the room. History has its eyes on us. In death, we live in the heads of those who remember us. We lose control of our lives. We become who they believe us to be. But I don't agree with him. For all the countless people who have lived lives of care and connection and compassion, I can never think of memory as a curse. I think it is a blessing. And in the wake of loss, the best blessing that can be. To be remembered long after we are gone. To have our names spoken by those who love us, who will always love us, or to have our names spoken because we are remembered with honor or gratitude or gladness, to be remembered for our work, for our talent, for living, for a difference we made. All of this is a rich promise. We think so much about what the afterlife might be. Another life, a different plane of existence. Even when we don't believe in any afterlife at all, thoughts still arise. Even just across this congregation, we hold so many different beliefs and hopes about what comes next. The hopes and wishes are expressions of what we feel most deeply, and they are always with us. They are part of us. But there is also something we can know, all of us together. In the end, the afterlife, after living, is at least partly what we are already doing here on earth. After living, moving as fully as we may through our own days, still holding great joy and meaning, along with hardship and pain, shaped by those we love, even after they have left this life and our lives. Our memories, their legacies, live on in us as compelling and elusive as clouds. As the poet May Sarton wrote, the dead move through all of us, still glowing. Mother and child, lover and lover mated are wound and bound together and flowing. What has been plated cannot be unplated. Only the strands grow richer with each loss, and memory makes kings and queens of us as the lost human voices speak through us and blend our complex love and our mourning without end. I was so determined to get through this service without actually having to mop up, much as I think of those lost. It's because, yes, it is our mourning without end, but also our loving without end. And the living that we pass through, that passes through us, that moves on in the end without us, even as it depends upon us in our time to hand it on. Life and love depend on our own living and loving as purely and absolutely as anything ever could. They too are wound and bound together and flowing. So, love as fiercely as you can, and live as fully as you can. Hold back nothing. Let mortality never keep us from this, the essence of life and spirit, that when death parts us, as it will, we will be filled with grief, but never regret. Amen. So this is our time to bring our names. Roger's going to start this for us by sharing names that have been sent in from folks who are watching from home. Hi again, all of you at home. And then we invite everyone here to, in your own time, once he has finished, call out the names of those we have lost who are filling our hearts and minds this morning, even if they are maybe the same names that Roger has already offered from the hearts and minds of others, even if it's a name that someone else has already called out together in this room. We're in no rush. We have all the time in the world for this, and we will leave plenty of time so that as and when you're moved, You may share the names you're carrying this morning.
The dead are not under the earth, they are in life's breath. They are in our breath as we speak their names. Today we remember Waylon Ziegelmeyer, Robert Chaput, Charles Doris, Brian Brennan, Angela Beavers, Carolyn Parent, Steve Kirby, Sarah Slate, Don Slate, Ellie Fidel, George Bilodeau, Elise Bilodeau, Elizabeth Beth Anterney, Adrian Glasson, Irene Allen, Robert Kohler, Rebecca Peltier, Mark Ollie, Ray Dean Baker, Bob Kennard, Virginia Torres Garcia, Craig Solomon, Anna Cabral Spencer, Maureen Armstrong, Tom Gleason, Tommy Raskin, Tom Jansen, Richie Brousseau, Bill Rapalai, Sintek Mashamba, Nora Anthony, Rita Baptiste, Marsda Connor, Charlotte Brown, Joanne Friday, Marcella Campagnolo, Joseph Rodriguez, Lawrence Larry Galvin, Luca Romano, Richard Philbrick, John Morin, Barbara White, Jimmy Devine, Terry Moore, Marilyn Mearden, Ted Gibbs, Linton Harrington, Brian Goldner, and Ty Davis. For these beloveds and the many others lost to us across time, we will toll our bell after we hear the names carried on your hearts. Karma Hickey, Patrick Hickey, and Cyril Hickey.
May we be filled with gratitude for the lives that have filled our own living and for the memories that fill our own minds. And may we show our gratitude for this community, for the sharing and the strength we find here, for the sharing and the strength we can give back to the world that needs and asks so much of us. And can we show that gratitude with the offering that we now receive for the life and the work of this beloved community. Please give as generously as you can, and thank you for all that you give and all that you do and all that you are. Among the many ways we have to practice and deepen our own faith, we have 3 invitations for you this week. The first is that our First Unitarian deacons are helping create a collection for the Afghan refugees who will be arriving in our state very shortly. We are collecting bedroom supplies between now and Thanksgiving to help set up housing for those families who are moving to Rhode Island. Our deacons are partnering with the Rhode Island State Council of Churches in this effort, and they are in turn working with the local office of Dorcas International to welcome humanitarian evacuees fleeing Afghanistan. For more information about this, please check out Friday's First U Times email, or you can contact Reverend Roger, who also has more information on this effort. Our second thing is the Zoom Coffee Hour. For those joining the service online, we warmly invite you to join the Zoom Coffee Hour, the weekly hour of connection and conversation online that's hosted by Reverend Roger and our lay ministry team member, Nicholas Friesner. And for those of you who are here in person, you are also welcome to log on to the Zoom Coffee Hour if you want. Hosts are welcoming people to join in until 12 noon. So if you live nearby, you can always head off home quickly and then join, at which time any topical conversations or breakout groups will begin at noon. And the Zoom link is also in Friday's First U Times. All are welcome. Lastly, another way to connect in an intimate group setting is to join a Connect and Reflect conversation, which is happening in person each week right after the worship service. The idea for this came from you, the congregation, during the listening session with PRUCOM, with our Prudential Committee, our board, a few weeks ago. It's an opportunity for everyone attending services in person to connect with others and discuss the sermon or another topic for about an hour right after worship. Each group is small, has a facilitator, meets in a particular space, and follows pandemic protocols currently in place for First U, which includes that you have to be fully masked with your mouth over your nose and mouth the whole time you're indoors. If you would like to participate, it's really easy. Just hang out here after worship. And a Connect and Reflect leader will organize everyone who stays into groups for that reflective conversation. And the folks who are doing that this morning are Kate and Louise. If you guys would stand up just so people can see who you are and where you are. Thank you. Our choir has gone outside to sing us the postlude. The words for the prelude and the postlude, I hope you noticed, are written in the order of service. So we have now our benediction, our chalice extinguishing, and then I hope you'll remain seated and listening for the choir's postlude before we conclude our worship today. Reverend Kenneth Collier, a Unitarian Universalist minister, wrote these words: I do not know where we go when we die, and I do not know what the soul is, or what death is, or when, or why. What I know is that the song once sung cannot be unsung, and the life once lived cannot be unlived, and the love once loved can never be unloved.
Join me in reciting the words for our chalice extinguishing printed in your program. We carry the flame of peace and love and hope until we meet again.